On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about The Other One by Babymetal. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today we are, I guess we're starting Female February.
The ladies of heavy metal.
Only over halfway through the month because it's February.
Right. And February is only like 16 days long.
Yeah.
Right.
Famous. That sounds right.
That's
accurate. It's only 16 days long, right? That's how long February is.
Every year.
How long is February this year?
29 days.
29 days this year.
It is.
What demarcates the different? Is February's only ever 28 or 29 days?
Right. See, because they determined that the trip around the sun is 365.4 days.
Yeah, it's
0.25 days.
It's not exact.
Right. So every 4 years they got to add a day to.
And okay, so it's most of the time it's 28 days.
Yep.
And then so this year is a leap year?
This is a leap year.
Okay. Because I couldn't remember. That was a whole unit in my astronomy class that I took when I was in college, talking about the difficulty of making an accurate calendar because of the way that celestial bodies actually move.
Right.
And
they're not perfectly in sync with one another.
And the calculations required to actually make a calendar.
Right.
Are like to actually make a calendar and make an accurate one are much more complicated than one might think.
Right.
Where you're like, it's 365 days. Like, well, that's why they got to add. Things are not exact.
Right.
And people figured that out thousands of years ago. They're like, oh, this is not quite right. And so they already have, I think that's like worldwide, all the various different cultures with their various different calendars. It's a problem that, mathematicians and astronomers and whatnot have had to deal with for thousands of years.
Sure.
Of how do we compensate for the fact that this is not exact? And that's kind of interesting to me. Anyway,
interesting to me as well.
But I'm a nerd. What?
All right, just dawned on me in the back of my head
that you're a nerd.
No, that dawned on me. But
it finally dawned on you.
Slightly over 50 years ago. But I mean, that there was a steak I was supposed to take out of the fridge, get it to room temperature before I fry it.
And you forgot to do that.
I forgot to do that.
Well, the night is ruined.
Yep.
Whatever.
I'm just gonna jump out your window right here.
Good luck.
Oh,
that'll take some doing.
Will it?
Probably. What
if I got a running start?
I don't know. See, I think windows are way harder to break than people think.
They are. Like when you see a movie, you see somebody getting thrown through a piece of glass. It never looks like what glass looks like when it shatters.
And also you have to. I feel like in order for a human body, to break a window, like a plate glass window. I feel like you would need to hit it in such a specific way and very hard.
Right.
Because your body is soft. The human body is not great at concentrating a lot of force in a very small area.
Especially bodies like ours.
Like ours.
I know, I'm very soft.
Like maybe if you elbow dropped into it. And it's one of those things like, obviously if you drop onto something, that's different. But if you're coming at something from the side, I think that would be pretty difficult. Like a large enough pane of glass would be different. But, then it's it's just your weight like snapping it, like it's bending enough in the middle that it's snapping on the edges.
Right.
It's not breaking the way it does in the movies, because those are designed to break.
Right.
They're specifically made to break. Whereas in real life, glass windows are explicitly designed not to do that. Right. They're made so that doesn't happen.
The word tempered is usually in there.
I think I feel like jumping straight through glass probably not going to go very well.
Like if you're driving in your car and you hit a deer, unless there's a hoof going on, they're not going to really break through the windshield necessarily.
Well, and like cars in glass is different too, because those are, not that they're designed to break, but and also it's a big pane of glass. So something heavy hitting it in the middle is definitely going to crack it. But they're also designed to break in such a way that they don't break like through. They don't shatter. They don't shatter. They crunch and they crush. So you don't have razor sharp bits of tiny. You don't have tiny knives flying around when you get into a car accident. Right. Because that's just one more thing that's gonna fucking kill you. So we might as well not have that in there. Right. I think glass in general is just way harder to break for the most part than people think it is. It depends on what object we're talking about and the exact kind of glass it's made out of. But like any bottle of alcohol, you try to break a bottle of some kind over someone's head, you're probably going to kill them.
Yeah, because it's not going to break.
It's not going to
You're just
break.
going to deadly bludgeon them. And
like if you hit someone over the head with a Jack Daniels bottle, you're going to prison. Right. You're probably going to go to prison.
And during your trial, it will be presented as evidence the unbroken bottle of Jack Daniels with the hair and blood on it. And scalp and skull. And
like if you throw it against some concrete, it'll probably break. But a person's skull ain't made of concrete.
And also, I've found out that if you throw an empty bottle of Jack at a cop car, it also doesn't really break.
But the cop car does.
Yeah, because now you just get a new problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Your problem before is you had an unbroken bottle of Jack Daniels. Now you have another problem. Yeah. The Jack Daniels bottle still isn't broken. Right. And the cops are mad.
Now you have firearms pointed at you.
And you didn't need that on your Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
It's always Tuesday.
It's always Tuesday.
Yeah. I had an interesting Tuesday.
Did you?
I had to take a cat to the vet.
Oh, right.
Well, I guess I didn't have to take a cat to the vet. Well, you
got to do it sometime. You got to get her checked up. And
well, like I have not had the entire time I have had Zima, I have not had a reason to take her to the vet. Right. There's never been any obvious health problems. Her appetite and behavior has always been pretty much the same. The things that they tell you to look out for when you've got a cat, and like, okay, you should take them to the vet. She's an indoor cat. So her rabies vaccination was out of date, not super far. But her distemper vaccination was also out of date, but she's old enough now to where she kind of doesn't need so in any case, like she needed to get some of her vaccinations done. But again, she's exclusively an indoor cat. Sure. She never goes outside. She never encounters other animals.
The only person she's going to get distemper from is you.
Yeah. Because that's a human. Yeah. Because humans can give cats distemper.
And mange.
And mange.
Yeah.
But in any case, her breath has been stinky.
Oh, really?
Lately. And that's, generally not supposed to be how it is with cats. Cats are supposed to have neutral, inoffensive breath. They're not quite like dogs. If a dog has stinky breath, that's not necessarily a sign of anything bad
it's a sign
going
that
on in
they're
their
a
health.
dog.
Yeah, it's the sign. It's a sign that they're a dog. Cats is something could be going on. And I tried to take a look at her teeth, and it seemed like maybe her gums were a little red and what. So I took her in. Yeah, she's got a little bit of gingivitis going on. The vet couldn't identify any obvious like abscesses on her teeth, but she, couldn't rule out there being like a root abscess or something somewhere.
Oh, sure.
So I have her scheduled for a full dental exam, but that's not until the end of May. Until then, it was suggested that I switch her food to soft cap food, just because it's better. I got a pamphlet of information about better dietary options that I need to read through and actually go and buy some soft cat food for her. I don't know how she's going to respond to the change.
But you need to, the problem is that you kind of need to alternate, because if you take them completely off of hard cat food, then they really get fucked up teeth, because that's what cleans the teeth is the
I don't know.
Is the crunchy cat food.
I'm gonna do what the vet told me.
Right. We actually had that issue with our cats as well.
Yeah.
Back when I was in a family. So always the crunchy cat food, but supplemented with, just in case your mouth is hurting or whatever. There's some Friskies as well.
I don't know.
Some tender vittles.
I'll go with what the vet.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't look at me. I'd be a terrible veterinarian.
That vet, by the way, incredible.
Yeah.
I haven't been I've been to a lot of vet appointments in my life.
Yeah.
Just growing up in a family that had a lot of animals.
Right.
But I don't know if I ever went with taking the cats to the vet.
Really?
I don't know if I ever went with for a cat appointment. If I did, I hardly remember it. Been to a ton of dog appointments, but I hardly remember taking the cats to the vet, even though I know it happened. But this veterinarian, she was incredible. Zima was. It took her in there. She was nervous. When it was just the two of us in the room, she was wandering around, taking a look at stuff.
Sure.
But then soon enough, she goes and she crawls behind the chair. I was leaning forward a little bit on my chair and wasn't leaning back into the backrest. And she actually, there was a bit where she jumped up behind me, between me and the backrest.
Yeah.
And then later on, she went on the floor behind the chair, behind my coat.
Right.
And was hiding. Brought her out, and then when the vet came in, I brought her, picked her up, put her on the table on the countertop, and the vet just sort of kind of gently grabbed her and then pulled her in, just sort of pulled her in up close, held her up to her chest, and just got real close and real familiar, and Zima swatted at her once, hissed a couple of times, but then after probably about 2 minutes of the vet handling her, they weren't friends, but Zima stopped trying to be, she stopped trying to be violent. She didn't like having her teeth looked at, but the vet had the claw grip on her head, basically, gripped her in the right spot to get her to open her mouth and keep her head kind of immobilized.
Right.
But yeah, just I was very impressed because you know her. She hardly pays any attention to you.
Right.
And you've been in here every week since before I got her.
Yeah.
Almost every single week, at least once a week, if not twice a week, you are here, and she doesn't give a shit about you.
Nope.
She doesn't really like you. And then there's everyone else in the D&D group where if they try to touch her, she will be violent.
That's why they call her the Blood God.
And so I was worried. I made sure her nails were clipped the night before.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want her to scratch anybody or to draw any blood.
Right.
And I was just very impressed with Zima, and I was very happy with the vet.
Nice.
It was, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a nightmare because again, it's been such a long time since I had taken her to the vet. I didn't know it was obviously going to be something she was not used to at all, and I didn't know how she was going to react.
Right.
But this vet was a freaking cat whisperer, so that was neat. And I hope at least when I take her in May that there's nothing, crazy going on. Although even if there is, like, the thing that I like about this clinic is, number one, it's right next door.
Right.
Number two, they do everything there. Like the only thing they don't do there is large animals, basically. Like, they don't have, they don't have the facilities to take care of your horses or cows.
No, they don't. This is in town.
But they do pretty much everything else. They do dental stuff. They do emergency stuff. They do, all kinds of stuff. And it's literally right next door. And that's great.
That is great.
I really like that. Although yesterday my thighs were quite sore because I went back and forth between my apartment, the animal clinic, and work several times on ice. Yeah. And so, part of that was carrying a cat in the cat carrier, trying not to eat shit,
right,
and fall on my ass and drop the cat carrier, and God knows maybe the door flies open and the cat sprints off into nothingness.
Right.
Like the first time I ever took her to the vet, I put her in that cat carrier, and I swear to God, I checked to make sure that the door was all the way latched.
Yeah.
It was not. And we get out into the hallway, it pops open, and she fucking sprints down to the other end of the hallway, doesn't find any open doors. She sprints back in my direction where there is an open door down to the stairs. And I like post up like a fucking goalie and reach down and grab her and like shove her back into the cat carrier.
Sure.
That was unpleasant. And
sure.
I didn't like that. But
I feel like, though, once you're outside in February with Zima, if the door came open, she might step outside for a split second and be like, nope.
Maybe. I don't know. She's a fluffy cat.
That's true. But
cold might not bother her too much.
She's very indoors.
That is also true. I was... now I'm trying to remember if this was... I think it might have been still November when it was like, because it was warm pretty late.
Yeah, into December.
I think it might have been into December already. There was a day where it was nice enough that I was sitting out on my deck and I put Zima in her harness and took her out onto the deck with me, and I'd never done that before. And I think I was rereading Berserk at the time. I don't remember, but.
And then we went into the deep freeze. But yeah.
Yes, and then it started getting properly cold. And I've been surprised the last couple of days where I keep on thinking that it's still like nice, and it's actually pretty cold out there.
But it's going to be a short cold snap.
Yeah, it's we're in a little cold snap right now, which is weird to say for the middle of February in North Dakota. We're like, we're in this cold snap. It's like, it's fucking February, dude.
Yeah, it's supposed to be cold.
Of course we are.
Yeah.
That whole last half of January, though, was way nicer than it had any right to be.
Right.
Especially after the absolute nightmare hell that was the first half of the month.
Right, because it was down to like 30 below actual air temperature.
God. You never get used to it.
No.
I don't think you ever do.
No.
People pretend like it's nothing. They're wrong.
Right.
I've lived here my entire life, and every year I'm still like, this sucks. This is bad. This is awful. Why does anyone live here? How did, like, it's one of those things, like, the resiliency of the human race and the sheer insanity of the places that we are willing to live in and have actively been living in for thousands upon thousands of years is shocking to me. Like, like all through, like, you know, all the way around the globe, the entire circumference of the Arctic Circle is and has been inhabited by human beings for thousands of years.
Right.
And that's insane to me. Why? Why did anyone, you just leave? This guy, no one's I mean, now you can't quite do that now, but for a while, no one was keeping you there.
Right.
You didn't have to be there. I'm sure I know it's more complicated than that.
It's way more complicated because some did obviously leave.
Yeah.
I mean, he said, hey, you know, we're going to eat this, frozen fish and this, desiccated seal fat. And where are you going? Well, you headed south, huh? Well, yeah, good luck.
More for me.
Yeah. And then ultimately they're like, hey, it's fruits and vegetables and shit down here.
But it's the same thing on the exact opposite end of the spectrum too, where you have places where it's, you know, the daytime high is 125 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
And, you know, there's hardly any water and there's hardly any food. And yet people were like, yeah, no,
I can do this.
This is home.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me, but also incredibly impressive. People lived in those places for thousands and thousands of years without any sort of, meaningfully advanced technology.
No sunscreen
to change those situations.
They did not have SPF 50.
Like, I mean, the SPF 50 was get in the shade.
Yeah.
Don't go outside. You know.
And I've been around
sit
for those
behind
days.
this big rock.
You know, I can't remember what year it was, but my wife at the time and her sister and her daughter and I were camping at Sakakawea, and we set up our tent. For some reason, we reserved an area with no trees. Yeah, and it got up to 109 degrees. Ugh. And we were all just huddled and just on the opposite side from the sun on that tent. Yeah. This is so miserable. And then eventually I'm going down to the lake, and I was down there. It's like, it's cooler down here. And I caught like a northern immediately. I'm like, crap. And then it took, I can't fish.
You went down to go fishing thinking you were going to pass the time down by the cool water. Yeah. But you unfortunately were successful.
Yes, exactly. I guess I'll go clean it.
That's one of those things where fishing as a purely relaxing, like I feel like if you are going fishing, you should expect to catch a fish. Is one of those things, or because it's like, if you didn't want to catch a fish, just go sit by the water. I guess it gives you something to do.
It gives you something to do. Also, it gives something to tell your wives. Because I had there were uncles, but uncles in that, they were close to the family. I have no idea who they really were. But I remember going fishing with them in Fort Cobb in Oklahoma. And and I remember them just drinking beer and talking, and their lines in the water, and we, drive by the shore, they'd wave back at the shore, drink the beer, and then, eventually they reeled in, and it's just a hook. Yeah. There's nothing else on it. Well, I don't put her beer down.
Bait got cleaned off hours ago.
Bait was never put on. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been fishing.
Yeah.
I think it's partially because every time I go to the lake, it's usually just like the weekend. Right. And fishing, occupies a large part of the day.
Right. That takes time.
And I'm not down for the whole day. I'm down for a few hours. Right. And also, if I'm going fishing with my dad. Mm-hmm. My dad gets up at 5 a.m. to go fishing. Right. And I don't want to do that. Because that means I have to get up at 4 a.m. if I'm not already at the lake.
You can go fishing here in town, that?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. But
I mean, there's actually a designated area that's not a part of the river system that you can fish out of.
They just have fish in there?
It's just they just plant them in there. Because if you catch anything out of the river that goes through town, it came out of that river.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the water is flowing.
Yeah, I guess. Still really grossly brown.
I mean, is Missouri that cleaner?
No, probably not. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. I do remember the Painted Woods Creek.
Yes, driven over it many times. Yeah.
That runs through the golf course, and my dad and I, when I was young, we would go and pull golf balls out of the water traps and sell them back to the golf course.
Right.
And they would, paint them and turn them into range balls. And so that was like a very large supplement to my allowance as a kid. If there was like an expensive Lego set that I really wanted, that's how I paid for it.
Nice.
But the water in certain points, boy howdy, especially now, I feel like I could fool myself when I was younger, but now it's just clearly and obviously apparent that there are places where there was just shit there. There was just feces in there. And I don't know if the sewage system of like the clubhouse like was directly connected. And that's what that was. And that's just where and it had like an outflow. I don't know if that's true or if it just smelled that way.
I feel like you couldn't get away with that. Could you? I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
it's definitely against some kind of
there was definitely like
regulation.
There was a pump house.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, that was, water for the sprinklers and shit.
Sure. And shit. Yeah.
I don't know. There was parts where like there have been dumps I have taken and gone, oh wait, that brought back a sense memory of like that smell. And it conjures an image in my head of the golf course. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I was eating same food that I ate at the golf course. Deep fried food.
I don't know. There are also there was several times in those summers where I stepped on a turtle.
A turtle.
But actually no. Like that was there was a time I think I encountered several like box turtles.
Yeah.
There was one time, however, I don't think I stepped on it, but I was, I was feeling around for golf balls down in the mud. Yeah. And then between my legs, I see swimming between my legs and then going off into the water, snapping turtle.
Sure.
Just swam between my legs and went off about its business. It was a fairly big snapping turtle.
We don't have any water snakes in North Dakota, do we?
I don't think so. We might. We don't have anything venomous,
right,
in the water. We don't have like water moccasins or anything like that.
That'd be awesome.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, of course it would.
Why?
Because it would kill people. I don't know.
All right,
I don't know why
psychopath. I don't think we have any dedicated water snakes that I know of.
Right.
I might be wrong about that, but as far as I'm aware, the only venomous snake in North Dakota is rattlesnake. I don't know if Western Diamondback or what it is, but I have encountered rattlesnakes in this state.
Yes.
I think they're the only venomous snake around in these parts, in this neck of the woods. But there was a time, speaking of snapping turtles, there was a time where I was driving home from my parents' house and I saw the biggest snapping turtle I have ever seen in the wild.
Okay.
Obviously it was a common snapping turtle because we don't have alligator snapping turtles up in this part of the country.
Right, which are not alligators.
Yes, they're just
turtles.
They're turtles, but they have scutes on their shell that look kind of like an alligator's back. Therefore, alligator, and they have very long tails too.
And some like longer snouts.
Yeah. So they have some gator-like features to them. Mm-hmm. But in any case, like the biggest common snapping turtle I've ever seen. And it was up on the top of the hill by my parents' house, a pretty long ways from any water. And again, up a hill.
Right.
Which you don't associate a turtle wanting to go up a hill. But in any case, this snapping turtle just walking across the road by the railroad tracks, just like, where are you going? Where did you come from? Why, like, where?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Cotton Eye Joe. What are you up to? Just on a stroll, dragging his tail behind it. Like, Jesus Christ, that thing massive. Just looking for a new pond, I guess. In all the wrong places.
He's looking for a new pond, baby. A new pond. Yeah. Just keep going. Sorry. I
want to unpack that. What is that a reference to?
That's a reference to a song from the 1980s from when I was young.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. That's back when I was in my 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 1980s.
Because now you're 110 years old.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of being old.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Babymetal. That doesn't have anything to do with being old.
They've been around for 14 years, though.
That's true. They've been around for a while. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know anything about Babymetal, we'll tell you some about Babymetal. Although I have to say, for the bands we have listened to, this is one of the longest and most detailed Wikipedia pages I have seen in an incredibly long time.
Well, they got a mainstream fandom.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing for it. There's so much detail that I was like, I'm not reading all of this.
TLDR.
I'm not doing that much research.
Yeah.
They got started. The original idea for Babymetal goes back to about 2009 when the band's producer kind of had the idea of like, hey, what if we had a like J-pop idol band and combined that with heavy metal.
Right.
And so, he was, had some ideas and then immediately identified an artist that was already performing with a band in their company, a group in their company. Her name is Suzuka Nakamoto, and she is
Sue Metal.
Yeah, she goes by Sue Metal as her stage name.
Yes.
She had already been performing with some of their other groups. And she's the lead vocalist. Right. Most of the vocals that you hear on this are going to be hers.
Yeah.
She's also the oldest member of the band. She's currently 26.
Right.
So at the time, this was 2009. So she would have been math.
She'd have been math. So minus 15. So 11.
11 years old. And they eventually got a couple other members of the band. And this is one of those things of me just like fundamentally not understanding the way that like Japanese pop music gets made.
Right.
Like the three of them are the band.
Right.
And there was one of the original members departed the band. Had some health issues. Yep. And so there is now the other two members of the band are made up of Moa Kikuchi, who is the one of the original members,
and Momo.
She's 24, and then Momoko Okazaki, who's 20 years old and joined the band last year.
Right.
But the other two are credited as doing backing vocals and screaming, though you don't really hear, at least this is the only album of theirs that I've listened to. I don't know if they mean something different by that.
There's been more in the past.
Or if they mean like sort of the like gang vocals sort of thing.
Well, like a screamo kind of situation.
That might be more, because this is the only album of theirs I've listened to.
Right.
So it's all I have to go off of. But also, dancing and that sort of perform is a big part of the performance. But then they always have session musicians, and they've had a ton of different guitarists and drummers and whatnot who have performed as the band that sort of remain a kind of anonymous element.
Right.
Their names are all publicly available. All the people who performed with the band. Is not one of those things where they have to keep the people's names a secret.
Right.
But they don't really take center stage as performers, generally speaking. And that's just kind of the way that like Japanese idol music seems to be structured, is that sort of thing, is like the idols are the focus of the thing.
Right.
And that's always just felt a little weird to me. We were talking before we started recording, like it feels like as Americans, it almost harkens back to the way a lot of music was made in like the 50s and 60s and into the 70s, and continuing with pop music, especially up into the 90s.
You're NSYNC, your Backstreet Boys, you're All For One, all those things.
Britney Spears, even that sort of thing of where like the
Spice Girls.
Yeah, the band is sort of an entity that gets created. Yeah. And people get brought together to form this band, but the producers and the record label kind of have some element of control over it.
I feel like it's less common now.
Yes, I think it definitely still happens, but I feel like at least in the modern music industry, it seems like artists have a little bit more agency when it comes to the music that they make. That's, again, I think that also depends heavily on the genre, heavily on the artist and the record label that they're signed to. But I think it seems to be that case. Whereas the impression that I get from J-pop and K-pop is that it seems to be a bit more tightly controlled
by management.
By management. However, and like a thing that I feel like I've become mildly aware of is like there are certain like idol groups where members kind of are disposable almost. And that really doesn't seem to be the case with Babymetal.
Right.
Like other than the one who had to leave due to health issues, the other two members of the band have been with it the entire time.
Right.
The rest of the lineup has not necessarily been stable, and the musicians have come and gone.
Right. The instrumentalists.
But the core members of the band have largely remained the same, which I think is a good sign. And also they have huge international success, which isn't super common. And so I feel like that might be another element of like, well, we can't get rid of her because people might freak out. I don't know. This is all me kind of talking out of my ass,
right? You didn't really
with half-formed ideas of how things work that are probably incorrect.
Right.
But in any case, all that being said, what you get is a really interesting fusion of genres that they have more or less since the beginning referred to as kawaii metal.
Kawaii metal, yeah.
And kawaii just means cute in Japanese.
Sure.
Essentially, it means cute. And
is that what it means in Hawaiian as well? I wonder, because
I don't think so.
There's an island in Hawaii.
Well, it's spelled different though.
Maybe it's a cute. Oh, look at that island.
I think.
What a cute island.
I think that is a Hawaiian word, which is a Polynesian language.
Because languages, borrow from one another all the time.
Sure. I don't think Polynesian and Japanese have very much have common roots.
I'm sure very far back common roots.
Well, yeah. Like, in the same way that Persian and English have.
They're both Indo-European languages.
Yeah, but you have to go back about 10,000 years to find the common ancestor.
Blink of an eye.
But in any case, where was I at? Oh, yeah, you have this interesting fusion of this very bright, very poppy Japanese sort of cutesy sound mixed with very earnest, heavy modern sounding metal.
Right.
And it's this neat combo that has definitely caught a lot of attention over the years.
Definitely
garnered a lot of criticism over the years from people who are probably have their heads a little bit too far up their own asses to have fun. Which, I mean, let's be honest, that is me some of the times.
Sure.
Where I can be a bit of a buzzkill about things that are, hey, it's supposed to be fun. And I'm just like, but I don't like it. That being said, I feel like over the last couple of years, something has changed in me a little bit.
Yeah.
Where I have become more willing to accept things that are just silly and fun. Like, I feel like if you had brought that, I can't remember the name of the band, Electric Callboy.
Oh, sure.
If you brought that Electric Callboy album to me a couple of years ago, I probably would have had a very different opinion on it. But when you brought it to me in the last year, I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. I love this. Yeah. And I don't know if I would say that I love Babymetal, but I definitely enjoyed my listen to this. I had a good time. I didn't dislike anything. Right. Although if there's one thing that bugs me a little bit, and it's not something that is inherent to this band, it just seems to be a thing that a lot of Japanese and Korean bands do. Well, let's just throw some English words in there.
Right. Yeah.
And it bugs me a little bit because I'm like, what? Who are you putting that in there for? Like, I guess you're putting it in there for your English speaking audience a little bit, but
which is a lot of the Japanese audience.
Sure. But also I feel like with Babymetal and with other artists that do that, the English lyrics are either A, nonsensical, or B, just really kind of basic. Sure. And like, here are some words we'll put together, and it's that'll sound cool in English. And I'm like, I would rather have like interesting, well-constructed lyrics in a language that I don't speak than really basic lyrics in English that I happen to be able to understand. But see, I did manage to be a bit of a buzzkill.
There you go. Yeah, I'm sad now. Yeah,
I ruined it for you. But it seems to be a thing that, like, regardless of genre, that I've encountered with some mostly Japanese things that I've listened to. I can't say I've listened to much Korean music. I haven't listened to much Japanese music either. Sure. But like the band that did the theme song for the first anime adaptation of Berserk. Yeah. But that song is terrible. Like the recording quality is it seems intentional that it is as awful as it is. Yeah. But it doesn't make it charming. But they have English lyrics. It's all English lyrics, and they make no fucking sense. They make no fucking sense whatsoever. Sure. And yet that song is iconic because the anime is iconic. Sure. There's actually like a remix version of that, or not a remix, but a redo version of that that I think an American artist did that I unironically like way better because it doesn't sound like ass.
I feel like there's a certain feel to like this kind of music and like the end credit music to a lot of anime.
Yeah, well,
it's got a lot of the same flavor.
I mean, I feel like, I feel like end credit music for a lot of anime, that's when you bring out the somber kind of slow.
That's true. So this would be the opening credit.
That's your lo-fi chill beats to study to at the end at the end of the anime. Right. The high energy one is what you want for the opening, and I think it's just because that's my experience of Japanese music for the most part, or at least like high energy Japanese music is the few anime shows I've watched, the handful, like I think the only ones I've ever watched all the way through, I think, are Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Cowboy Bebop. I don't know.
Cowboy Bebop's pretty easy to watch all the way through.
Yeah, because it's not very.
It's not like this music.
Yeah, it's not very long. Yeah. Like the different Berserk adaptations have not been available.
Right.
To me anyway.
Yeah, and it would be nice if the Cowboy Bebop animated would live up to the live action version.
Yeah, the live action version, that's way better.
Yeah.
But in any case, it was hard for me not to imagine many of these songs as the opening theme to various different anime.
Sure. Because it has that kind of flavor.
It has that flavor to it, that mix of like heavy and kind of, you can imagine like, the characters, doing some sort of a fight scene to the, right. And the credits are going up.
There's still some tight harmonies.
It's to me, it's got that vibe to it because that's just my frame of reference for this. And that was like, I think it's something that's popped into my head a number of times. Is if I was an animator, if I could draw and animate, something that I would love to do is like D&D campaigns I play in. Right. It would be, I think, so cool to like animate a anime opening to like to sessions of the campaign, basically, like with everyone's characters. Like that would be so cool. And then like hearing songs like this, I imagine like what that would look like with people's characters, and it's, I wish I had that kind of talent, but I don't.
I hear you, man.
I've never been able to really draw worth a damn.
I can only ever draw accidentally.
Yeah.
So
you get done with a doodle and you're like, oh shit, that's actually kind of good.
That's awesome.
And then you make a concerted effort to draw something and it looks terrible.
Yeah, right.
I understand that for sure. But does this album slap?
Well, yeah.
I would say it slaps for sure. Yeah. I would definitely say it slaps. You wrote some notes.
I wrote some notes on paper.
Did you collect any quantifiable information? Because I forgot to make any notes or write anything down.
Well, it is 10 songs that belong to their fourth album, The Other One.
Oh, okay.
I made some very broad notes here.
I was so impressed that you're like, you brought a little notebook and I was like, oh shit, he brought some stuff.
Extremely broad notes.
And then you just wrote some stuff that I could have told.
Yeah, you could have told me on the top of your head. Totally. I just needed to be prepared. I did write down my favorite songs.
Sure. What's your favorite songs?
Okay, well, the opening song, Metal Kingdom. Really good. I love Mirror Mirror.
Sure.
And just the guitar work and just the intensity of that song.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really good. And I think just sort of on the other side of that coin, Monochrome.
Monochrome. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite is probably The Legend.
Okay, sure.
Surprising Nobody is the final song on there. I think the thing that sealed the deal for me of that being my favorite song is like the rest of, not that there's no variety on this album. I think that's far from the case, but like a lot of the other songs you can kind of just sort of glide through. It's like, yeah, this is good. And oh, those vocals are good. But then I was doing something else on my computer and listening partway through The Legend. I'm like, wait a minute, is that fucking saxophone?
Yep.
And if we know anything from the early history of this podcast, you put saxophone in that metal album and you got my attention. I haven't listened to that Rivers of Nihil album in such a long time.
You should revisit.
I ought to.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it for like well over a year.
Was it the Owl album?
Where the Owls Know?
Yes.
Not Where the Owls Know My Name, just Where Owls Know My Name.
Yeah, Where Owls Know My Name. Right.
Like I was obsessed with that album for a while, and I just have not listened to it. I think
really good.
I think I listened to it too many times, and sort of burned myself out on it.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. But then later, sometimes you give it enough time, you go back to it, and you're like, oh yeah. I remember why I loved this.
Like that Claypool Lennon delusion or whatever.
Yeah.
That What was the name of that album? The one with the cockroach on the cover.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I listened to that.
If I had to guess, I would say Metamorphosis.
That is not it.
Kafkaesque.
Oh, South of the Path.
Okay. You said cockroach, and I was like, here are the things.
Because it was one November. It was like beginning the second week in November of 2000, going all the way until like the January 2000. I listened to almost nothing but that for a long time, and then after that, I couldn't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, we should. I don't think we ever did Claypool Lennon Delusion. March is coming up,
right? All right.
We could.
I'm down with that. I'm down with revisiting that and see if I'm okay.
Yeah, see if you're okay to listen to it again. Yeah, because those are some weird albums.
Yeah,
those two made together.
But great.
Les Claypool and Sean Lennon.
Right.
A member of the Lennon family making weird music.
Yeah, certainly it was, normal music, but then Les Claypool stepped in.
Yes, Sean Lennon has only ever made normal music.
Right. Just like Les Claypool has only ever made,
normal bass music.
Normal bass playing music.
Well, we can do that at some point. But let's get to the end of this episode. What metal do you bestow upon the other one by Babymetal, like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
This gets at least a silver.
I agree. This is definitely a silver for me too. I didn't love anything on here enough to be like, this is gold, but I liked this.
Yeah, I like this. Very well done.
I think there's never been a time where like Babymetal has come up and I've been exposed to it and heard parts of it where I've gone like, ugh, turn that off. I hate that. Like that's never been the case. But also I don't find anything about them quite compelling enough for me to ever want to seek them out really.
This did actually cause a fight between my friends Beth and Tim. I told you.
Yeah. You talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah.
We'll continue with Female February next week with not an album. But an EP.
Okay, cool.
I mean, considering the length of some of the albums that we have listened to, it could be considered album length.
Is it for like 40 minutes? Or?
No, it's 25 minutes, but I feel like there's been at least one or two albums that I think you have probably brought that have been
certainly
that short and considered a full-length album.
Right.
It is an EP that was released last year. It's called The Fear of Fear by Spirit Box.
Oh, love me some Spirit Box.
It is fantastic. It's really good stuff, and I've been listening to it a lot lately. We'll talk about that. I mean, it's 25 minutes. It's a short listen, but that just means you can listen to it a bunch of times.
Yeah, give a couple spins.
Until you hear from us then, why don't you go ahead and follow us on Facebook or the website formerly known as Twitter, or just subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you're using to listen to us right now, whatever that might be. I don't know. I've gotten very like my voice has gotten. There's an affectation I started using unconsciously there that I don't like, and I'm going to go back to my regular manner of speaking here.
Well, who are you doing? What?
I don't know. It was someone very artificial though.
But it almost sounded like a famous director of weird movies.
There's a lot of those.
Golden Sunshine.
David.
Yeah,
sounded like David Lynch.
You did sound like David Lynch for a moment there.
I'm not that nasally, am I?
Just for you broke into it.
I started talking like David Lynch. He showed me this thing called a Wookiee. I had such a fucking headache. David Lynch is a national treasure.
He is.
But in any case, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.